Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter, and this is Paint and Sip at Home. Alright, so today I'm going to be painting Cutest Snowman number 4, and I'm sipping on some hot cocoa. And if you enjoy this process, I do hope that you like and subscribe to my channel, and that you also check out my Patreon page for additional painting perks. So let's get painting and let's get sipping. Alright, so for my materials today, I'm going to be using a stretched and primed 16 by 20 inch canvas. If you're painting along, you can certainly switch up the size, but that's what I'll be using. I'm going to be using acrylic paint today. My colors are titanium white, Mars black, cobalt blue, burnt umber, which I like to call brown, fire red, deep yellow, and phthalo green. And of course you can switch up those colors, but that's what I will be using. For my tools today, I have a standard number 2 pencil that I'm going to use for some drawing. And then I have 3 brushes from my personal brush line, which is Michelle the Painter brushes. I have a 3/4 inch wide flat bristle brush. Then I have a 1/2 inch wide flat bristle brush. And I have a number 3 round synthetic brush. And I might refer to these as small, medium, and large as we go through the painting process, or I will just call them out by name. And of course, you don't need these same exact brushes. You can switch yours up if you'd like to. If you're painting along with me, you're probably going to want to have some kind of cup of water for washing your brushes, as well as some kind of towel for drying your brushes. And down below this video, in the video description, I do provide you with a few additional resources that can help you throughout your painting process. One of them is a link to my shop, where you could purchase the same exact paint kit that I'm using, from the same size and type of the canvas to the same type of paints and brushes and all the good stuff in between. You can also purchase things individually from my shop, like the brushes from my brush line. So that's there. There's also a link where you can download a free image of the final painting. So you can print that and use it as visual reference as you go through the painting process. And there's also written step-by-step instructions down there for you as well. And that's all we're going to need today. Alright, so what we're going to do for the first step is we're going to be drawing an outline for our snowman and its sign. I'm going to be using my number 2 pencil. You can certainly use any drawing utensil that's comfortable to you. I'm going to be guiding you through a series of markers. We'll connect those markers, and by the time we're done, we'll have some nice, large, basic shapes that we'll be able to use during the painting in process. So I'm going to guide you to find yourself the center of your canvas, top to bottom, left to right. So for me, that falls somewhere in this vicinity. Then what I'm going to do from there is I'm going to go up maybe about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch, give myself a marker, and then I'm going to come down from there about 4.5 inches. This is going to represent the kind of the top and the bottom of the shape that we're going to do for the head of the snowman. I want the snowman to look like he's looking up and kind of to the side. So I'm going to be doing an oval type of a shape that's going to be tipped a little bit to the side. So if this is about 4.5 inches tall, or 4.5, 5, like almost 5 inches tall, because I have made it further past that. So whatever the height of the shape is, when I go to the side, I'm actually going to be doing it a little bit wider than that. So I'm going to kind of put my measuring tool at a diagonal and then go just a little bit past it on one side and then make myself a mark here. So that just gave me 4 marks that I'll be able to connect that'll make like an oval type of a shape. And then I can just kind of sketchily just connect these into some kind of oval. Yours could be more circular. I'm just putting mine a little bit at a kind of little ovally type of a shape, so I can have a little tip to it. And then once I've got that, I can do the bottom snowball. So I'm going to come down to this bottom marker that we made for the first one. I'm going to go to the left of that about 1 inch, give myself a marker, and I'm going to come almost about halfway between the center of my canvas and here. So somewhere in this vicinity, I'll go over to the right and then down just a little bit. So somewhere in this vicinity. I'm now going to come down to the bottom of my canvas in the center and go to the right of that about 2 inches and then up just a little bit, maybe about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch. I'm going to connect these 3 markers with a big, huge circle, ovally type of shape. On the left-hand side, my shape is not going to come out farther than the side of my snowball head. So if this is the side of my snowball head, I'm a little into the right of that. And then on the left-hand side, my snowball is going to come way over here, like almost 2 inches away, maybe about 1.5 inches to 1.75 inches away from the edge of my canvas. So now I can connect these with a nice kind of just big sketcherly line. Nothing fancy. Don't worry about this being perfect. We're going to be painting over it. Just get yourself something to paint in. Now I'm going to draw my sign. So I'm going to come up to the top of my canvas in the center. So top of my canvas in the center, give myself a little marker. And then on the left-hand side of my canvas, I'm going to find myself the halfway point. So that would be where the center of my canvas is, come all the way to the side, and then go about halfway between that and the top of your canvas. So somewhere in through here, I'm going to give myself a mark. I'm going to connect these two with a slightly arcing line. This will represent the top of my sign, and I want my sign to be kind of skewed. It's just a fun sign that the snowman made, so it's going to be kind of out of proportion, which I think will be kind of fun. So then I'm going to, from this marker up here, I'm going to come about halfway between that and the right side of my canvas, somewhere in through here. And then I'm going to draw myself a little diagonal line, but I want it to stop about halfway, almost halfway between here and my snowman, and a little bit into the right of here. So I just made myself a little marker here. I can connect these two, so slightly diagonal. And then I'm going to come back over to the left-hand side of my canvas. I'm at that halfway height in through here. And then if I go about halfway between here and here, that brings me about here. If I go up about 1 inch and over about 1 inch, that'll give me this next little corner. So then I can take these two and connect them in an arcing line. And then I can just connect these two with a diagonal line. And that's all I'm going to be doing for my outline. I will be using my large bristle brush for the next step, so you can just get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to be painting the base coat for the background, which is the ground, and we're going to paint the base coat for the sign. I'm going to be using my large bristle brush to paint, but I'm going to use my number 3 round to demonstrate how to pre-mix a custom color. The colors we're going to use in this step are blue, black, and white, and I'm going to make myself a gray color for the background. So I have already pre-mixed I'm going to actually, let me call it light blue. So I'm going to call this light blue, not gray. I have made it on my palette here. How I achieved this is mostly white with a little bit of blue and just a touch of black. So I'm going for kind of a super cool gray, but it's reading more as like a light blue, and it'll probably read more as a light blue as I put the other details on the canvas. So that's why I've decided to call it light blue as opposed to gray, but it's a very, very unsaturated light blue. So once I've got that, I'm ready to start painting. I'm going to be painting the entire background behind my sign and behind my snowman with this light blue color. I do not need to do any fancy brush stroke because this color is going to cover really well, and we're going to do I think we're going to have some snow on it too later. We'll be putting some snow in our snow scene, so you can certainly disguise any imperfections with a snow scene and snow. So once I've got that in through there, I'm just going to kind of keep plugging away with getting this color on here. I'm bringing it right up to my pencil mark. I don't need to, again, do anything fancy with the direction of my brush stroke or anything like that, because this color is going to cover very well. If you feel that you wanted to put any more kind of little dimension into this, atmospheric dimension or anything, you could certainly do different shades of the light blue, or you can add additional information to it. But again, we're going to have fun. Our focal point is going to be the snowman, and I'm also going to be putting some snow on it later too. So I think we'll have plenty of stuff on the painting to keep the viewers' interest. So I don't think we need to do much to this background. We'll have shadow and snow on the ground too. So, and once I've got this, I'm going to actually wash my brush, because I'm going to do my base coat of my sign is going to be just with white. I don't typically do that, but I'm going to, well, white with a touch of black actually. So I'm going to just make sure I hit all my little spots on here. You can see I'm just kind of going back and forth, make sure I've got all my little spots. I'm going to wash my brush, wash away. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up white, and I'm going to do the top of my sign with white. And then as I get towards the bottom of my sign, I'm going to add a little bit of black on my brush. So if you bump into wet blue paint on this process, don't worry, because we're going to have a little border that goes around our sign, so you don't have to worry about that either. So again, just white up and through here, and then as I get towards this bottom, I'm going to pick up just a tiny touch of black, like just a itty bitty dot on my brush. I'm going to kind of paint it in like this, and then I can get that black to just kind of blend up. Again, just bringing it to my pencil mark. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit more white so I can get this to blend just a little bit better. This just gives it a little bit of a non-flat color, so it'll help to make it look a little bit more realistic as we go through the painting process. And then once you've got this done, we're going to be using this same brush for the next step. So you can just wash it. If I get this done, wash it and dry it and get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint our snowballs for our snowman. So our snowman head and body. I'm using my large bristle brush. The colors that I'm going to use are white, blue, and brown and black. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do most of it with white, and then I'm going to show you how to put a little bit of shadow around the edges and underneath that head so it has a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to be using a stippling brush stroke, which means I'm starting with white. I'm going to take my white and I'm just dotting it into that snowball. So mostly in the middle. I'm using this, I'm going to start it with just white so I can get just kind of a start to it, a little visual start to it. I can bring it all the way out to these edges just so we have that nice fluffy kind of shape to it, like that. And if you used pencil, a standard pencil like I did, you'll be able to continue to see this line under here. But don't worry if you can, because we're going to have a scarf on there, and we'll have all kinds of other stuff that is going to take that line away. And again, just using white to kind of get my snowball shape going. The brightest white is going to be towards the top of each one of these snowballs, because we're looking at it as if we're almost looking down upon the snowman like this. So I'm going to have the brightest part here, and then we'll have shadows under and under. So once I've got that going, now I can start with my little shadows. So I'm not going to wash my brush, but I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of black and brown. So just a tiny bit of black and brown, and I can start dotting or dabbing underneath this at the bottom of the snowball. So if you feel that you have too much paint within your bristles, you don't need to wash it. You can just kind of give it a squeeze in your paper towel, and that'll take out a lot of that excess paint from the little bristles inside. And you can make this as dramatic or as soft as you want. If you want it to look a little cooler, this is where you could pick up a little bit of blue on your brush. So blue, black, tap it off on my brush, and if that's too dark, I can always add a little bit more white to my brush. But I want it to be a little bit different than the background, so that's where I'm allowing myself to get it to be kind of on the darker side underneath here, and then I can just kind of tap it up into that brighter white snow. I can even put a little over on this side. All these little shadows on the side are going to make your snowball look like it is popping out. So something like that. And then the head will get a little shadow, maybe up towards the top. There's going to be a little hat on there. So I'll put a little bit of shadow up there like that. And then the body probably would have a shadow from the head. So I could put a little bit of shadow. I'm picking up a little bit of brown and black. The shadow from the head could kind of go on this top part of this guy and through here and over here. So the head would shadow onto the body, and then the body would shadow underneath. And a little bit more underneath here. And you can keep fiddling with it as much as you want. I've got mine pretty textured looking, so which means I didn't blend it too much. But if you want yours softer looking, you could certainly pick up more white and blend it out a little bit more. But I'm thinking that I'm digging mine, so I'm going to leave mine the way that it is. And we're going to be using, we are going to use for the next step, I think I would like to use this same brush for the next step. So you can just wash it and dry it and get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to finish the ground. I'm using my large bristle brush to paint. The colors that I'm going to use are my light blue, white, and probably a little bit of black, and that might be it. If I might go into my cobalt blue, but I'm not sure yet, so right at the moment, I'm going to say no. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a shadow of the sign on the ground. So it looks like the light is up and the sign is up in the air. And we're also going to put a shadow underneath the snowman. And then we'll just finesse the rest of the ground if we feel that it needs to have any more work done to it. So I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of my light blue and a tiny bit of black. So more light blue than black. I just have a little tiny black in the corner of my brush. And if my light is up and kind of that way, my shadow under my snowman is going to take up like this area and to the left. So I've got a good amount on my brush, and I'm just kind of tapping it right underneath my snowman. And I'm going to push it up this side a little bit. And then I can just, I want it to look like, you know, it's pretty on top. So I'm going to just kind of put this shadow coming out like this. And then put it kind of out like this. So that's going to make it look like the shadow is kind of right underneath. And I think I want it a little bit higher up on this side. Yeah, that looks cute. And I don't necessarily want to pull it out too far because that will indicate that the light is lower in the sky and not up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing for my shadow for my my sign, only my sign is farther away from the ground than the snowman is. So that would mean that my shadow wouldn't be as dark as this black. So I'm putting more of my light blue on. And then I'm just going to kind of mush in kind of like a shape that would just indicate that this is darker underneath, something like that. Like that. That looks pretty good. And again, it's on top of the snow ground, so it doesn't need to be anything perfect. And then I can take my light blue with a little bit of white, and I can accentuate these shadows by putting lighter snow around them. So this is where I could use, if I had any areas around my my background or my snow area that looked like it was unfinished, this would be the stage where I could accentuate or put another layer on any of that stuff. So I'm not really doing too much. I'm just kind of making sure that I have a second layer on here. I see a little bit of streaking on my canvas in a couple of spots, so this is where I can just kind of allow myself to do that. I can pick up a little bit more white if I want there to look like there is like lighter spots within the snow. Picking up my light blue. I'm just kind of going back and forth between my light blue and my white in order to just get different tones within that ground, or to accentuate my shadow. If I felt that I wanted my shadow a little bit darker or more accentuated, putting that lighter snow around it might allow the viewer to think that it is a little bit more powerful and that it's sitting on some nice snow. And you can of course put lighter areas anywhere that you want. So I just kind of put a little bit more white up on my brush. But the trick here is to just kind of keep it soft looking. So I'm just allowing myself to just kind of do another layer using a scumbling or a circular type of brush stroke, just to kind of give myself these different layers throughout, or different kind of tones throughout it. And I think that that is all I want to do for that. I don't really need to do a whole heck of a lot. Maybe put a little bit extra snow around this guy, as if these are like little piles of snow that whoever built the snowman kind of left these little piles of snow around. Or maybe this little snowman kind of gathered all this snow himself. You can imagine this to be whatever way that you want. So once you've got this done, we're going to use, I feel like we could probably use the number 3 round for the next step. So once you've got this set and you feel like you are ready to rock on to the next step, you can put this brush away, take out a smaller brush, and get ready for the next step. All right, so what we're gonna do for the next step is we're gonna finish our sign. I'm using my number 3 round brush to paint. The colors I'm gonna use are black and white, and if I use any other colors, I'll let you know. So you can certainly write any kind of message that you would like to on your sign. I think that I just want my little snowman letting Santa know that he has the best cookies as an incentive for Santa to come and give him presents. So I'm going to be using my number 3 round. I'm going to start with some black paint with a little bit of water in my black paint, which will thin it out kind of like an ink consistency. And then I'm just going to start writing my sign. I want it to just look like it's handwritten. If you want yours to look like it's the beautiful typed font, you could certainly make yours anything that you want, but I'm just going to have Santa's name in through here, and the moisture in my paint allows me to kind of give myself these cleaner lines, but you can certainly, you know, play around with yours, and if you want yours more, you know, a distinct style, you can certainly do that. So Santa, I have more paint on my brush. I have, and just make sure that you spell it correctly. I can't tell you the number of times I myself or people who I've been painting with have painted their words misspelled, which is kind of funny, I guess. I have the, and as I say that, I know I'm probably gonna spell something wrong here. The best B-E and of course you could use markers to do this. You could use any kind of aid to make your letters in whatever kind of font or style that you want. I have the best cookies. All right, we're gonna make cookies bigger, so I'm gonna push my brush a little bit harder on these letters because we want to draw the attention to the word cookies because I know that that's the word that would get my interest piqued the most. So I'm just pushing my brush harder. I'm using a round brush to do this because when I'm doing kind of just script letters like this, that I know that I need that brush to be kind of flexible and moving around the corners. The round brushes work well for me if you want them to be really kind of clean and more uniform. You could use like a small bright brush or something that has shorter bristles but yet still has a little flexibility for you. I'm doing all capital letters, I guess, except for that one I. It's handwritten. You can make any kind of letters that you want. I put all of my E's this way, so we'll just do that way. And then I have my S. And of course, this totally needs an exclamation point to send home my message. So something like that. I think that's going to be a good sign there. And then I just need to clean up my edges. So I think I'm going to use, you could certainly put like a wood frame around it, but I'm going to have the hands, the snowman hands that are going to be holding on to it, that are going to be brown. So I think I'm just going to I just put white on my brush and maybe just a little kind of snow detail up at the top. So I'm just really pushing some heavy, firm snow up at the top. And if you wanted it to look more three-dimensional, you could pick up a tiny bit of black with your white, and you could almost kind of put little shadows underneath some of that snow. So that would be just a little extra detail. And then at the bottom, I can pick up a little bit more wet black, and I could just kind of outline this bottom edge, give that a little bit of shadow, maybe even kind of this little left little bottom and right little bottom too. That'll just give it a little more dimension there. And then these little edges over here, I think I'm just going to wash my brush and pick up white just to kind of make sure that I've got that cleaned up and that it has the nice crisp kind of edge to it. Not that that was necessary, but if you felt that you wanted to do that, you certainly could. And I think that's all I'm doing for my sign. You can certainly fiddle with yours as much as you want. If you feel it needs any other little adjustments, feel free to do so. And then we're going to be using the, let's use the 1/2-inch bristle brush for the next step. So you can just get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint the hat and the scarf. I'm going to use both my 1/2-inch bristle and my number 3 round. The colors I'm going to use are phthalo green, white, black, and that might be it. If I feel I want to add any more colors after I get them on, I will, and I'll let you know, but right now I'm thinking that might be it. So I'm going to do a little white pom-pom on the top of my hat. My hat and my scarf are going to be a combination of my phthalo green, like different shades of phthalo green. I might even put some little like black and white stripes in them or some other decorative elements, but I'm going to start with my phthalo green as my base color and then just decorate it as I feel fit. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to put my pom-pom in place with a little bit of white. I'm starting with my 1/2-inch bristle. So I'm going to have my pom-pom kind of tipped to the left and it's going to cross over my sign. So just a little kind of fluffy pom-pom part in through here. I'll add more dimension to it in a little bit. I just want to get the color started. I'm going to wash my brush now and then I'm going to pick up my phthalo green. So this is going to be uber bright when I put it on. So for my hat, I'm going to just kind of give myself a little bit of an outline. It's going to be super fluffy, super like knitted looking. I'm going to go kind of around the top of the head, down the side, and come right about to here. And on this side, I'm going to come right about to here. So if the head was straight, this is about halfway down the head. And then you can kind of give yourself a little kind of ripply line going up to your pom-pom. So I'm just using the side of my brush to create this ripply kind of line like that. And then I can take that green and I'm going to stipple it on. So just dot it on. And that's going to give you this fabulous texture to the hat. So again, just kind of dotting it on. You can even bring it in, you know, overlap that face just a little bit so it looks extra fluffy. I don't need a ton of paint at this point. Again, this is just kind of allowing myself to get this color on, and then I will add little highlights and shadows and decorative elements in a minute. I'm going to do the same thing with the scarf. So again, just a little bit of this phthalo green. I'm going to decide where I want it to go. So I'm going to go right underneath my initial snowball in through here. So, and I'm not doing a super straight line. I'm kind of tapping my brush along the way so it looks a little fluffier, like that, bringing up on either side of the neck past the body snowball. And then I can do the same kind of bringing it down in through here. I think one of the main things that I like to instruct people when doing scarves on snowmen, make them big and bulky. Don't just make them this little tiny line, because sometimes that makes it look like it's constricting the snowman's head. So just make sure you pop it out a little bit on either side of that neck, and that'll make it look nice and fluffy and like it's keeping them warm. And then I'm going to put a couple of little parts to the scarf kind of coming out in through here like that, and then maybe a little part kind of coming out in through here like that. And then once I've got that on there, I'm going to actually wash my brush. So wash my brush, and then I'm going to put a teeny tiny bit of black paint on it, probably that little thinned out black paint that I had with a tiny bit of water from my sign. And I'm going to put a little shadow underneath this hat onto the face. So just a little shadow of the hat onto the face, little itty bitty bit, not much. I can also do that right underneath the scarf too. So a little shadow underneath onto my little snowman. Even over here, I can put a little bit underneath here. So nothing much, just a little bit to give that little bit of shadow. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up my phthalo green plus a tiny bit of black, and I'm going to put a little shadow on my hat. So phthalo green plus a little bit of black. I can bring a little bit of shadow up on this left hand side, maybe even down in through here. Again, I'm stippling right now. I'm going to leave a light area where I want the rim of the hat to go. So something like this. This left side to me would be a little bit more shadowed because my light is up to the right. And then on my scarf down here, I put a little bit, maybe even on this guy, because maybe this one is underneath that one. So something like that. And maybe even underneath the face a little bit. So a little darkness like that. Now I'm going to wash my brush again, and I'm going to put some strategic highlights on. So washing my brush, and now I'm going to pick up phthalo green plus a tiny bit of white. So just you want to make sure that your black is off of your brush. And again, just a little bit of each, and you're going to watch how bright this gets. So my highlight is going to be pretty much in through here, and I want it where I want that hat to be the poofiest. So I'm going to put it a little bit on this rim, in through here. And again, just stippling, allowing for it to look nice and fluffy and soft, maybe up and through here. Like that. He's already so cute. A little bit on the scarf, so phthalo green plus white, just a little bit in through here. Just looking for a little dimension, a little fluffiness. I don't want it to go all the way white because I'm not interested in necessarily making it look like there's snow on it, but at this point, but I definitely want there to be a little highlight. So making it look like it's got some fluffiness to it. And again, not over blending, just kind of tapping That looks so cute. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit more phthalo green just as I go over on this left-hand side. There we go. And then I'm going to wash my brush again. I don't think I'm adding any other colors to this hat. I totally kind of dig it the way that it is. So I was thinking I was going to put other colors on it, but it's so fun, this color. Anyways, I'm going to move up to the Pom Pom because I need to just add a tiny bit more to that. So Pom Pom, I'm washing my brush, picking up a tiny bit of my watered down black paint. I'm going to go on this bottom left-hand side just with a little shadow in through there. Then pick up a little bit more white, get it super fluffy in through here like that. And then I'm going to switch to my small brush, my number 3 round, and put some little tassels on my scarf. So I'm going to pick up some of my phthalo green and just kind of pull out some fun little tassels in through here. Not necessary if you're not wanting to do that. And then I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of black so I can oops, that was a little black and white, a little bit of black so I can detail this little knot a little bit more. So just picked up a little bit of black so maybe I can add a little more detail onto this little piece of the scarf so it looks like it's got like a little knot or something. There we go. That looks cute. And I don't think I really need to do too much else. If you felt that you wanted to do anything else, you certainly could. We're going to be using, for the next step, we're going to use the same number 3 round brush, so you can just get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint his arms. I'm going to be using my number 3 round brush. The dominant colors I'm going to be using are brown, black, and white, but I have a feeling I might want to use a little red and yellow too, so I'll show you how to do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to first start with some brown. I'm just going to put my arms in place thinking that they are just sticks, but they've got to hold on to the sign. So I'm going to put them in what I'll think to be kind of strategic spots. So I'm going to have it coming out his armpit area, so somewhere in through here. And then maybe he's got kind of an elbow like that. And then maybe it kind of comes back up into the holding the sign. So anything you want. I'm going to just maybe go some little stick fingers. Maybe he's got one going on the other side. You can make them whatever way that you would like. I'm not quite sure that there is a standard way to make snowman hands, but that looks like it's holding on to it, so we're going to call that a win. Let me just kind of make this a little bit sturdier so he has good strength holding up that big huge sign. So this one I'm going to have coming out in through here. So I'm making my sticks a little bit wider as they go into the snowman body, just because that's what my brain tells me to do. But you can certainly make yours any way that you want. And I'm also trying to make them not super straight, but I do need an elbow. Well, I don't need an elbow. I just think that that would be wise to have an elbow. So something like this, and then maybe this one kind of comes and hangs in this little section of the snowman's stick. That looks like it would work to me. Okay. All right, that's a win. I'm going to put maybe just a little extra piece out here. All right, that looks good. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of black now. And I'm going to put a couple little shadows. So I just picked up a little bit of black. And I'm just going to kind of strategically put a couple of little dark marks down these sticks. I didn't wash my brush, so I still have a little bit of the brown on there. This is just giving me a little bit of dimension to my sticks. Something like this. I love when making just like natural elements like this, just allowing myself to wiggle my brush and make just little accents. That looks pretty cool. So now I am going to wash my brush and I'm going to pick up, I kind of want some little highlights, so I'm going to pick up a little bit of brown, red, and yellow. So I am going to use my red and my yellow just to put like little additional tones within that wood. So I don't necessarily want it to read as you know, super brown or super red or super yellow, but if I use them both together, I'll probably get like little marks of like little orange tones. So that'll make it just look like it's got little variations in the bark color. And you could also pick up a tiny bit of white. I just picked up a little bit of white just to give myself little accents of highlighted pieces in that bark. So I'm not doing very much other than just kind of wiggling my brush down that piece of stick and just give myself these little kind of highlights. And if you wanted to go overboard and give yourself a little bit of a shadow, if you will, of your fingers on your board, you can pick up a little bit of black, brown, and a touch of water, and you can say, okay, this is my little finger here. I can put a little shadow of it kind of coming off, and that'll make that look a little three-dimensional if you wanted to. That's not totally not necessary, but if you, oops, I just got red on my sign. But if you wanted to do something like that, you certainly could. Just get that off and through there. And then I think that that's kind of all I want to do for these little guys. We are going to use this same, oh, let me just put a little bit of white around the edge of here just to make that look like it is kind of sticking into the snow. There we go. That looks good. So once you've got that done, we're going to use this same small brush for the next step, so you can just wash it and dry it and get ready. All right, so what we're going to do for the next step is we're going to paint the face and the buttons. I'm using my number 3 round brush. The colors I'm using are red, yellow, white, black, blue, and maybe some of my light blue. If I go into any of the colors, I'll let you know. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to put my objects in place. My eyes, my nose, my mouth, and my buttons, and my eyebrows. And then, no, you know what I'm going to first do? I'm going to first put some rosy in the cheeks. That's what I'm first going to do. And then we'll put our objects on, and then we'll put little details. So I'm going to use red and white to make a little tiny rosy pink color. So very faint. I don't want it to be overly in your face. Just something that says, okay, this little guy's kind of cold. He's got a little rosy in his cheeks. So I just made a little pink, and I'm going to just kind of rub it in on his cheeks. So just using the side of my brush, like the little belly of the brush, putting it in these pretty large areas where I feel like that's where the cheeks would go. So just a nice little pink rosy cheek kind of look. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a little bit of black plus some water on my brush, and I'm going to put those features in place. So I'm going to do kind of a sideways smile with little kind of buttons and like little I'm going to just kind of move my brush to make these little kind of small marks. So people would think that maybe they're pebbles or something, not necessarily a fully opened mouth, but you can of course make yours whatever way that you want. Then I'm going to put some eyes. I'm just going to do circles for the eyes somewhere in this vicinity. So you want to just, as you're doing yours, just kind of imagine where you want that center of the face to be. And I've got mine looking up, so I've got mine at an angle, and I'm just going to make these black kind of circles like this. We'll put some more detail on them in a few minutes, but this will just get us started. I'm also going to put my eyebrows on. So I just want these cute little eyebrows somewhere up in through here. You can change the expression on a face with just one little eyebrow motion. So just, put yours wherever you want them. I want mine kind of like friendly and just kind of, hopeful. So Santa's going to come and give him his cookies, or give him his presents if he gets good cookies. I'm also using black. I don't want to use black for the nose, but you can certainly kind of just put a little, just outline of the shadow if you want to. My buttons I'm going to start with black, so I'm just going to put maybe 4 buttons. You can certainly have more if you want, and yours can be bigger or smaller. It would make sense at this angle if your bigger buttons were up here and then maybe you put the bottom buttons were a bit smaller. That would make, perspective wise, that would make sense, but that's up to you if you want to do something like that. And they don't all have to be the same size, because we can certainly consider these to be little, you know, mismatched buttons or whatever, or little pebbles. And then I'm going to wash my brush so I can put my carrot nose on. So again, I got a strange angle for the snowman, but so the carrot's going to look a little funky at this angle, but I'm going to make a little bit of an orange color. First I need to wash my brush, and I'm going to take yellow with a touch of red in it, and that's going to make me a nice orange. So you don't need to do anything fancy, just kind of yellow and orange, or yellow and red makes orange. And I'm going to do just a little kind of curve here, and then just kind of bring it out to the right just a little bit. I'm really kind of thinking that it's kind of coming at us. That's like my perspective of it. But I still feel that I would kind of see a little bit of that point. You could certainly make it rounded if you want, but that's where I'm going to start that. And while that's drying, I'm going to go and finish my other little features. So I'm washing my brush, and I'm going to put white. Actually, I'm gonna go for some of that light blue. I'm putting a little bit of light blue on my brush, and I'm gonna on the eyes, I'm gonna put a little bit of what I like to call a glaze on the top part of the eye. So just a little kind of swoosh, not at the tippy top, but maybe a little bit to the little bit below, and just kind of a swoosh over to that left. I'm gonna wash my brush now, and I want the little guy to look like he's looking up, so I'm going to put the whites of his eyes down at the bottom. So I wash my brush, I'm picking up some white, and when I do this I have to leave a little bit of the black outline on there. So this is white on my brush, and I'm going to give just a little white to the eye down here. So just a little curve down at this bottom left hand side, and just kind of scoop it up so it makes it look like the eye is looking up to the sky. So the trick to making an eye look in a certain direction is wherever that pupil is looking, that's where it's going to appear that the person is looking. I need to cut this white back just a little bit. There we go. And then I'm going to put, I want to put a little bit of the cobalt blue. I didn't say I was using cobalt blue. I'm using white plus a little cobalt blue. I feel like I want a little bit more blue in the eye, so white and cobalt blue, I'm going to put just a little bit kind of up towards this top left, like that. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of white, put a little sparkle, top right, and then I'm going to put a little shadow underneath my nose. So I'm going to pick up some of my orange plus a little bit of brown to put a shadow at the bottom side of the carrot. Something like that. Wash my brush. And then I'm going to put some white and yellow on my brush to get a little highlight towards that tip. So something like that. I think I need a little bit more of this orange, maybe on this side. There we go. To steer that tip towards the viewer. There we go. And then my little buttons down below, I'm just going to use some of my light blue, give myself a little kind of highlight towards that top, like that. And then I can pick up a little bit of white, give myself just a little tiny shine. White, 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 white. And then I don't think I really need to do much else. You could certainly, if I wanted to put like a little shadow underneath that nose or underneath those eyebrows, I can pick up a little bit of my light blue, maybe with a tiny bit of black and a tiny bit of water. And if I wanted this nose to look like it was shadowing on the face, I could put like a little tiny shadow right underneath it. And that's going to make it look like it is shadowing right underneath onto the face. And that'll help with that. If you didn't get the nose to kind of look like it was pointing towards the viewer, that shadow underneath it will help sell that story. And you can always pick up a little bit of white to blend out if you need to. You could also put a little bit of shadow at top of those eyes. So if you want like the eyebrows to look like they are kind of dipping in a little bit, that's the light blue. And then I just put a little bit of white. Might have been a little bit more gray on my brush there or something. You know, just these little kind of nuances. If you want to add a little bit more shape to the face, you can certainly do that with just little bits of shadows here and there. And then once you've got that done, I feel like maybe just a little shadow underneath by the mouth. Give a little smiley. Once you've got this done, we are going to be using this same small brush for the next step. He's so cute. So you can just wash it and dry it and get ready. All right, so what we're gonna do for the next step is we're gonna make it snow. I'm gonna use my number 3 round, but I might use my large bristle as well. I'm just gonna use some white paint. So just take my white paint and just really make polka dots all over the place. I think the trick when it comes to making it snow is make it snow everywhere. So you'll wanna make it snow, you know, in front of your little snowman. I'm just making lots of little dots. You could certainly do whatever you want. Make it snow in front of the sign. So wherever you want it, if you want it to look more kind of natural as far as snowmen holding signs go, just kind of make these marks everywhere. And you could do it with this brush. You could also do it with your large brush. If you take, ooh, I'm doing big snowflakes now. If you take your large brush, you could take a tiny bit of white paint on your brush on the end of it and then flick it like this. So I could take this and this will give you those million little tiny dots all over the place. So if you want like a big snowstorm, or if you feel like you want to kind of texture your painting a little bit more, you could certainly add this to it. And then we are going to be using our small detail brush for the next step. So once you've got your snow on, you could even put a little kind of snow sitting on his arm if you want to. Just put a little snow in through here. So we're going to use the small brush for the next step, so you can just get ready. All right, so we are on to the final step. This is the final step of every painting, which is to sign it. So I typically sign mine in the lower left or the lower right. I'm going to be using my number 3 round brush. I'm going to sign this in the lower left with white paint. I like to sign mine with my initials, but you can certainly sign yours however you want. You can make up a fun symbol. You can hide it in your painting. You can make up a name if you want to. You can sign it on the back. Anything that you want to identify your painting as your painting is up to you. And that is going to conclude this painting. I hope you enjoyed the process. I hope you painted yourself an adorable little snowman, and I look forward to painting and sipping with you again sometime.